The desperate plea. Commander Lisa Chen stood frozen at the observatory console, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that hovered above the circular projection table. The signal pattern repeated itself, 3 pulses, followed by a geometric sequence that couldn't possibly be natural. After 15 years at the Deep Space Listening Post, she had finally found what humanity had been searching for since they first looked up at the stars. "Dr. Harmon," she called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I need you to verify something." The head scientist appeared moments later, his perpetually disheveled appearance a stark contrast to the pristine white walls of the lunar observatory. "What have you found?" She gestured to the pattern. "It's coming from the Arcturus system. The signal repeats exactly every 42.7 seconds. Dr. Harmon's eyes widened as he studied the data. "This is artificial," he whispered. "No doubt about it." Within hours, the signal had been escalated to Earth's Unified Space Command. Within days, it had been partially decoded. Within a week, humanity learned they were not alone in the universe, and that they might soon wish they were. The signal contained coordinates, technical specifications, and a desperate plea for help in a mathematical language that transcended spoken words. It came from a being who called herself Zara, the last survivor of the luminary, a species whose technological advancement had once spanned dozens of star systems. Now, only Zara remained, preserved in a biostasis pod orbiting a dying red dwarf on the edge of explored space. Dr. Elena Reyes brushed a strand of dark hair from her face as she studied the alien technology that had been recovered from the small probe that had followed the signal to Earth. As the head of xenotechnology of the Global Science Initiative, she had been given unprecedented access to humanity's first confirmed alien artifact. "It's incredible," she murmured to her assistant, Dr. Kai Wright. "The material composition shouldn't even be possible according to our understanding of molecular bonding." Kai nodded, adjusting his glasses as he examined the device through a quantum microscope. "It's as if they found a way to stabilize matter at the subatomic level. The applications would be revolutionary," Elena finished, "if we can understand it." The door to the laboratory slid open with a pneumatic hiss. General Diana Ortiz entered, her uniform immaculate, her expression grim. "Doctors, we need to talk." Elena straightened. "General, we've barely scratched the surface of this technology. We need more time." "Time is the one thing we don't have," the general replied, activating a secure holographic display. A star map appeared, with a sinister red cloud spreading across several systems. "This is what our deep space telescopes have picked up. We're calling them the Void Harvesters." The imagery showed massive structures, like jagged obsidian thorns, surrounding planets. Where they passed, worlds turned gray and lifeless. According to Zara's message, these are what destroyed her civilization. The general continued. "And they're heading toward our solar system. Estimated arrival, 18 months. Elena felt her blood run cold. What can we possibly do against something that destroyed a civilization thousands of years more advanced than ours? "That's why we need Zara," the general answered. "Her stasis pod contains the last repository of luminary knowledge. If we can reach her, bring her back, maybe, just maybe, we have a chance." The meeting room at the United Earth Defense Headquarters buzzed with tension as representatives from every major nation gathered to hear the proposal. Captain James Rivera, the most decorated pilot in the Space Force, listened as General Ortiz outlined what many were already calling a suicide mission. "The alien being known as Zara has technology that might help us defend against the approaching threat," the general explained. "But her stasis pod is located in a system that would take our fastest ships 5 years to reach, by which time the Void Harvesters would already have reached Earth." "So what are you suggesting, General?" asked the Chinese representative. "That we simply accept our fate?" "No," came a voice from the doorway. Elena Reyes entered, carrying a small device that pulsed with an ethereal blue light. "I'm suggesting we do the impossible." She placed the device on the central table. We've partially decoded the alien technology. It manipulates space-time in ways we've only theorized. With the right modifications, we believe we can create a functional FTL drive. The room erupted in disbelief and questions. Faster than light travel. That violates everything we know about physics, shouted one scientist. So did quantum entanglement communications, until we figured it out, Elena countered. The luminary understood something about the universe that we're only beginning to grasp. James leaned forward, intrigued. And you think this can get us to Zara? Not just to her, Elena said, her eyes bright with determined hope, but back in time to save Earth. Operation Stardust came together with unprecedented global cooperation. The best minds in physics, engineering, and military strategy worked around the clock to retrofit Earth's newest deep space vessel, the EDS Horizon, with the experimental FTL drive derived from luminary technology. James Rivera was selected to command the mission, with Elena and a team of specialists accompanying him. They would have one chance to reach Zora, retrieve her and her knowledge, and return to Earth before the Void Harvesters arrived. The night before launch, James found Elena in the observation deck of the space station, staring out at the stars. Having second thoughts, he asked, joining her by the viewport. Thousands, she admitted with a small smile, but none that would change my mind. James studied her profile, impressed by her determination. You know the odds of this working air. Approximately 1 in 8,342, she finished. I did the calculations myself, and you're still willing to go. Elena turned to him, her expression resolute. Throughout history, humans have accomplished the impossible by simply refusing to accept it as impossible. When the Wright brothers built their first airplane, people said humans weren't meant to fly. When we first reached for the moon, people said it couldn't be done. She gestured to the stars beyond the viewport. Now we're reaching further than ever before. And yes, we might fail. But if we don't try, then we've already lost. James completed her thought. Exactly. She handed him a small data drive. Besides, I've been studying the partial translations from Zora's message. The luminary had a saying, "The universe favors the audacious." James pocketed the drive with a nod. Let's hope they were right. Launch day arrived with little fanfare. The mission was classified at the highest levels to prevent global panic. The EDS Horizon, sleek and gleaming in the sunlight, detached from the orbital shipyard and moved to a safe distance for FTL initiation. On the bridge, James took his place in the command chair, with Elena and her team stationed at the science consoles. Chief Engineer Maya Santos monitored the experimental drive, her hands dancing over the controls with practiced efficiency. All systems nominal, Maya reported. FTL drive is charging. Helm, set course for the coordinates, James ordered. Lieutenant Nadia Petrov, their navigator, entered the complex series of numbers that would, theoretically, take them across half the galaxy in less than a month. Course laid in, Captain, she confirmed. James took a deep breath. Everything humanity knew about physics suggested what they were about to attempt was impossible, but humanity had made a career out of achieving the impossible. Commence countdown, he ordered. FTL jump in 10, 9. Elena's console suddenly flashed red. Captain, I'm detecting an energy fluctuation in the drive. 8, 7. Is it critical? James demanded. Elena's fingers flew over her console. I don't think so, but the calculations will be off. We might miss our target coordinates. 6, 5. By how much? James asked. Unknown, Elena admitted. But if we abort now, we may never get the drive functioning again. 4, 3. James made his decision. Continue countdown. Sometimes you have to roll the dice. 2, 1. Engaging FTL drive, Maya announced. The stars outside the viewport stretched into lines of brilliant light. Reality itself seemed to fold around the ship as space-time bent to the will of the luminary technology. A moment of overwhelming pressure pushed everyone back in their seats, and then darkness, followed by a field of unfamiliar stars. Status report, James called out as systems came back online. "We're alive," Maya said with obvious relief. "The drive is intact but drained. It'll need time to recharge before we can jump again." "Where are we?" James asked. Nadia worked her navigation console, comparing star patterns to their database. "Sir, according to these readings, we're in the Arcturus system." Elena looked up in shock. "That's exactly where we needed to go. The odds of that happening with a compromised drive air." "Improbable," James finished with a small smile. "But obviously not impossible." The main view screen activated, showing a small artificial structure orbiting a distant red dwarf star. Inside that structure was humanity's best hope for survival. "Take us in," James ordered. "Let's go meet Zara." As the horizon approached the alien structure, Elena couldn't help but think of the luminary saying again, "The universe favors the audacious." Perhaps there was something to it after all. The impossible victory. The alien structure hung in space like a crystalline teardrop, its surface reflecting the dim light of the dying red dwarf. As the EDS horizon approached, pulses of soft blue light emanated from within the structure, a greeting or perhaps a warning. "No obvious weapons or defensive systems," reported Security Chief Marcus Shaw, his dark eyes scanning the tactical displays. The former Special Forces operative had been skeptical of the mission from the start, but his dedication to protecting the crew was unwavering. Elena studied the readings from her science station. "The structure appears to be made of the same material as the probe that reached Earth, and I'm detecting a single life sign in suspended animation." "Zara," James confirmed. "Prepare a boarding team. Dr. Rice, you'll lead the scientific contingent. Chief Shaw, you'll handle security." Within the hour, they had docked with the alien structure. The boarding team, clad in environmental suits as a precaution, moved through a short, curved passageway that seemed to shift and accommodate their presence. "It's responding to us," Elena whispered in awe. "The entire structure is semi-organic." At the heart of the structure lay a chamber bathed in pulsing blue light. Suspended in a transparent column at its center was a humanoid figure, clearly alien, with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer with inner light, elongated limbs, and a delicate, angular face. What might have been hair floated around the being's head like a corona of silvery filaments. "That's her," Elena breathed. "Zara." As if responding to her name, the alien's eyes snapped open, revealing irises that swirled with galaxies of stars. The fluid surrounding her drained away, and the transparent column receded. Zara stepped forward on unsteady legs, her movements becoming more fluid with each passing second. When she spoke, her voice seemed to resonate directly in their minds. "You came," she said, her mental voice filled with wonder. "I had calculated only a 12.7% probability that any species would respond to my call in time." Before Elena could respond, the structure trembled violently. Chief Shaw's comm unit crackled to life. "Boarding team, this is the horizon," came the urgent voice of Lieutenant Petrov. "We've detected 3 objects on an intercept course. They match the profile of the Void Harvester's scout vessels." Zara's expression shifted to one of alarm. "They have found me. We must leave immediately." Back aboard the horizon, Zara stood on the bridge, her ethereal presence commanding attention despite her frail appearance. Captain Rivera had ordered immediate departure from the system, but the FTL drive still needed time to recharge. "The scouts will reach us in approximately 17 minutes, Nadia reported grimly. "What can you tell us about them?" James asked Zara. "Weaknesses, strategies. The Void Harvesters are not truly alive as you understand it," Zara explained, her mental voice resonating with ancient sorrow. "They are automated systems, created eons ago by a species that feared their own extinction. They were programmed to preserve life by harvesting and storing the genetic essence of all species they encountered." "That doesn't sound too terrible," Elena ventured. Their programming degraded over time, Zora continued. Now they harvest all resources from a world, including all organic life, leaving nothing but barren rock. My people fought them for generations before our final defeat. And you survived because? Shaw asked, suspicion evident in his tone. I was our last hope, Zora answered simply. I carry within me the complete genetic repository of my species, along with our technological knowledge. I placed myself in stasis, hoping some other spacefaring race might find me before the harvesters returned. The tactical display updated, showing the approaching scout vessels, each resembling a jagged obsidian shard. Weapons ready, James ordered. But I doubt our conventional armaments will do much against something that destroyed a civilization as advanced as the Luminary. Zara stepped forward. Your weapons will be ineffective. However, she turned to Elena. The technology you use to reach me, it manipulates space-time. With modifications, it could be weaponized. Elena's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. You mean create localized space-time distortions? That would tear anything caught in them apart. Precisely, Zora confirmed. But I will need access to your engineering systems. James hesitated only briefly before nodding. Dr. Reyes, take her to engineering. Chief Santos, give them whatever assistance they need. As Elena led Zora from the bridge, Shaw moved closer to James. Sir, are we sure we can trust her? No, James admitted quietly. But right now, I don't see that we have much choice. In engineering, Elena watched in amazement as Zora's slender fingers manipulated the holographic interface of their systems with impossible speed. The alien worked with Chief Santos to reconfigure the FTL drive's output, creating what she called space-time lances. This will drain most of the drive's power, Maya warned. We won't be able to jump back to Earth immediately. If this doesn't work, there won't be an Earth to return to, Elena reminded her. The ship shuddered as the first of the scout vessels came into weapons range. On the bridge, James ordered evasive maneuvers. Their weapons are charging, Nadia reported, her voice tense. Fire conventional weapons, James ordered. Full spread. Missiles and energy beams lanced out from the horizon, striking the lead scout vessel. They might as well have been throwing pebbles at a tank. The obsidian shard continued its approach, unaffected. Engineering, we need those space-time weapons now, James called over the comm. 30 more seconds, Elena's voice came back. The scout vessel fired, a beam of sickly green energy that sliced through space toward the horizon. At the last possible moment, Lieutenant Petrov executed a desperate evasive maneuver, causing the beam to graze their shields rather than cut through the hull. Shields at 60%, reported the tactical officer. Space-time lance ready, Elena announced over the comm. Target the lead vessel and fire, James ordered. From the horizon's main deflector array, a rippling distortion shot forth, invisible except for the way it bent light around it. When it struck the scout vessel, reality itself seemed to warp. The obsidian shard twisted, sections of it disappearing into microscopic singularities before the entire vessel collapsed in on itself and vanished. A moment of stunned silence fell over the bridge. Target the second vessel, James ordered, his voice steady despite the shock of what they'd just witnessed. The second shot was less effective, grazing the scout vessel rather than striking it directly. The damage was still substantial. Nearly a third of the shard disintegrated into nothingness. The third vessel is retreating, Nadia reported, unable to keep the triumph from her voice. They will return, Zara warned as she and Elena returned to the bridge. And in greater numbers. We must retrieve the knowledge repository from my structure and depart this system immediately. The knowledge repository was a crystalline sphere no larger than a human fist, yet according to Zara, it contained the entire cultural, scientific, and technological history of the Luminary civilization. With it safely aboard, the Horizon retreated to a nearby nebula to recharge its FTL drive and prepare for the journey back to Earth. In the ship's meeting room, Zara presented them with disturbing news. The harvesters will have reported our presence, she explained, projecting a holographic map of the galaxy. Their main fleet will divert to intercept us. We cannot outrun them with your current FTL capabilities. So we fight, Shaw said firmly. Against their main fleet. Zara's mental voice carried incredulity. Even my people, with technology millennia beyond yours, could not stand against them directly. Then what do you suggest? James asked. Zara hesitated. There is a possibility. My people discovered an ancient network of space-time conduits, what you might call wormholes. They are unstable and dangerous, but with the knowledge in the repository, we might be able to use one to return to your solar system instantly. That sounds promising, Elena said cautiously, sensing there was more. The nearest access point is here. Zara indicated a point on the map. But it is guarded by a harvester outpost. We would need to neutralize it to gain access. James studied the map thoughtfully. A direct assault would be suic. Not necessarily. Shaw interjected, an idea forming. The harvesters may be advanced, but they've never encountered humans before. We think differently than most species. What do you have in mind, Chief? James asked. Shaw smiled grimly. Something unpredictable. The plan was, by conventional military standards, insane. But as Shaw had pointed out, that was precisely why it might work. The Void Harvesters operated on logic and patterns. They had never encountered the chaotic creativity that humanity brought to warfare. As the horizon approached the Harvester outpost, it appeared to be crippled, venting plasma, and drifting on a collision course with the outpost itself. Distress signal broadcasting on all frequencies, Nadia confirmed. Now we wait, James said softly. They didn't wait long. 2 harvester vessels emerged from the outpost, moving to intercept what they perceived as a damaged ship, easy prey. They've locked tractor beams on us, Nadia reported. Perfect, Shaw muttered. Just like fishing. The Horizon's damaged systems suddenly came to life. Thrusters fired at full power, not to escape the tractor beams, but to swing the ship in an arc that brought the 2 harvester vessels into alignment with each other. Fire space-time lance, James ordered. The distortion beam lanced out, passing through the first harvester vessel and continuing on to strike the second. Both collapsed into microscopic singularities that quickly evaporated. Secondary explosives, deploy, Shaw commanded. Dozens of small devices that had been magnetically attached to the Horizon's hull during their apparent breakdown detached and accelerated toward the outpost. Each contained a miniature version of the space-time distortion technology, combined with conventional explosives. When they detonated against the outpost's surface, the resulting cascade of spatial distortions tore the structure apart from multiple points simultaneously. It's working, Elena exclaimed. Zara, where's the conduit access point? James demanded. The alien's fingers danced over the navigation console, inputting coordinates. There where the distortions are strongest. We must enter precisely at this vector. James nodded to Nadia. You heard her, Lieutenant. Take us in. The Horizon plunged toward what appeared to be a growing rift in space itself, a swirling vortex of impossible colors and shifting dimensions. Structural integrity holding, Maya reported from engineering, though strain was evident in her voice. But only just. 10 seconds to entry, Nadia called out, her hand steady on the controls despite the ship's violent shaking. Sensors are detecting multiple harvester vessels emerging from hyperspace, Shaw warned. The main fleet has arrived. Too late, James said with grim satisfaction as the Horizon crossed the threshold of the spatial rift. Reality twisted around them in ways that human minds were never meant to comprehend. Several crew members collapsed from the mental strain, while others clung to consciousness through sheer force of will. And then, suddenly, calm. Status report, James called out, his own vision still swimming with afterimages. Nadia paused, checking and rechecking her instruments. We're in Sol system, "Sir, just beyond Mars orbit." A cheer erupted on the bridge, quickly silenced as Zora collapsed. Alina rushed to her side. "The passage was difficult for me," the alien explained weakly, "but I will recover." "Take her to medical," James ordered, "and get me a channel to Earth Command. Tell them we've brought home exactly what we promised, a way to save our world." 1 month later, Earth had changed more than anyone could have imagined. Zara's knowledge repository had yielded technologies beyond human understanding. Yet, with her guidance, they had been adapted for Earth's defense. A network of space-time distortion generators now surrounded the planet, ready to tear apart any harvester vessel that approached. More importantly, human scientists working with Zara had discovered how to disrupt the harvester's central programming, essentially offering them a new directive that would return them to their original purpose of preservation without destruction. In a ceremony at the newly established Luminary Embassy, Zara stood before representatives of Earth's nations. Her appearance had changed, the biological augmentations she had designed for herself allowing her to better tolerate Earth's environment. "When I sent my signal into the cosmos, I had little hope of survival," she told the assembly, her voice now audible rather than telepathic. "I certainly never expected to find allies capable of doing what my own people could not, standing against the void harvesters and winning." She turned to where James, Alina, Shaw, and the rest of the Horizon's crew stood. "You came for me when I had no right to expect rescue. You risked everything based on nothing more than a distress call and a sense of what was right. And in doing so, you have not only saved your world but given mine a second chance." From a small container, she produced what looked like seeds, glowing with inner light. "These contain the genetically preserved essence of my people. With your help, the Luminary may live again, not as conquerors or rulers, but as partners in this vast universe." James stepped forward to accept the container. "On behalf of humanity, we're honored to help. After all," he added with a small smile, "what are neighbors for?" Laughter rippled through the assembly, a sound of hope and possibility that would have been unimaginable just months before. As the ceremony concluded, Alina found herself standing next to Zora, looking out at the stars visible through the embassy's massive windows. "You know," Alina said thoughtfully, "for all your people's technological advancement, I think there was something you were missing." "Oh?" Zara asked, curious. "And what might that be?" "The human capacity for impossible thinking," Alina replied. "We don't accept limitations the way other species seem to. When faced with impossible odds, we don't calculate probabilities. We just refuse to accept defeat." Zara nodded, her starlit eyes reflecting the lights of Earth's cities below. "Perhaps that is why the universe brought our peoples together. Your impossible thinking combined with our knowledge. There's nothing we can't accomplish," Alina finished. As if to emphasize her point, a streak of light crossed the sky. The EDA's Horizon Aya, humanity's first true starship, beginning its maiden voyage to establish an early warning network against any future threats. The impossible had become merely difficult, and humanity was just getting started.